Dien. For some people, books are these mysterious pieces of media that they should read more of, or they wish they could read at all. Really though, for me, books are my primary form of entertainment. Books are always better than movies, and in many respects are always better than games. Oh yes, the novel can pack more characterization, more plot details, and generally it's an overall better experience than just about anything in the world. Now, video games are increasing in complexity all the time, and are actually bridging the gap between visual and written media. And one game that is definitely bridging this gap is Metro 2033. The game is ostensibly a first-person shooter, but it is one of those rare combinations of first-person shooter and survival horror game. You have very limited ammo, and since this game takes place in a post-atomic horror setting, military-grade ammo has become the new currency, exactly like in the Deathlands series of novels. Meaning that you will generally just be shooting crappy, dirty ammo for most of the game. This ammo does a decent amount of damage, but does far less than the good stuff. But if you shoot all your good ammo, you just shot all your post-atomic dollars. So you really have to look at the risk versus reward concept when deciding whether or not to use good or bad ammo. The game also has a very, very minimalist HUD. And this works quite well, as you would not expect post-atomic Russians to have access to Mjolnir Mark 7 power armor. This HUD goes a long way towards making the game that much more atmospheric. In the game, you have access to 3 main weapons. You have access to a pistol and 2 long guns. Now, as a firearms enthusiast, the level of gun porn makes me very happy and, well, the pleasure centers of my brain. The weapon designs are just orgasmic. They have all sorts of little minute details, and the texture work, well, I think it speaks for itself. Not only can you see detailing on the individual cartridge casings, but each gun actually looks fairly unique. And by far my favorite is this Bubba Special Rifle that you get as your very first gun. It just looks cool, even if it is, well, kind of crappy. In the game, you also have to keep track of your air. As well, since the bombs fell, there are some areas where you can't actually breathe without a gas mask. And so in addition to keeping track of your precious ammo, you also have to keep track of your gas mask filters. And the game has this awesome distortion effect whenever you have your gas mask on. The game also uses the dreaded regenerative health system, but it never gets too annoying, and really you just die after a few hits anyway. And to fully heal, you do have to still use medkits. So really, it's the best of a bad situation. Really, it's quite wise to not get shot or mauled in any event. Further, there is one thing you must be on the lookout for. Traps that are hidden throughout an area, since unlike in Fallout, these traps are usually one-hit kills. On the subject of these Fallout games, this game, Metro 2033, man, makes Fallout 3's atmosphere look about as depressing as Sonic's. Now what we're looking at here is the original Metro 2033 released in 2010, and this is the PC version in particular, and while it is a fairly decent PC port, it annoyingly defaults to the controller whenever you have one plugged in. And yes, it's one of those games where you must unplug the controller before you can actually use the much superior keyboard and mouse. So have fun crawling behind your bloody computer and unplugging it. But all that aside, the game has quite simply amazing graphics for 2010, and they still hold up with even more recent releases. And well, if you find these graphics to be primitive, Metro has received a graphical update in recent years as well, so it's still tough of its game. Everything in the game is well detailed, but also well designed. As you go through the game, you really feel like you are fumbling around in the dark in the destroyed remnants of civilization. The atmosphere is thick enough that you couldn't hope to bloody well cut it with a katana. When you play this game, you get sucked into another world, a world where all the promise of a bright future was wiped out by the power-hungry nature of a few psychopaths. Really, I think this striking moment speaks for itself. You know, I think I should probably go play, you know, some Sonic. Okay, let's get right back to it. For those of the more emotional persuasion, such as myself, the overall desolate atmosphere may get to be a bit much after a while, and you literally may need to take a break and recover for a bit. That is pretty damn good atmosphere if I do say so myself. The character models also look great as well, and each person looks a little bit different from each other, and everyone looks about as ratty as you would expect from a post-atomic horror setting. There are moments in the game where you enter large crowds of people, and each one actually looks a bit different from the other, thus driving home that this is actually a place where people, not merely just copies and clones, live. And they really help you get invested in this whole brave new world. The creature design is also pretty fucking nightmarish, as in the developers pulled no punches here and gave us something really, really scary, and these muties are only the tip of the proverbial mutant berg. Sound for the game is also excellent as well. The people are all voice acted well, and since this is a Russian game, I would recommend playing it on its native Russian with subtitles to get the appropriate experience. Don't you be a nub! Sub, no dub! The sounds for the weapons are suitably realistic as well. None of the guns sound like hammers of God, and instead sound like real guns. Slightly louder firecrackers. Monster sounds. Well, let's just say you probably don't want to play the game at night. Okay, how many more lines to go? I think I need a little water, I guess. Throat's getting kind of dry. Damn. And it's dark already? Yeah, fuck it. The game's use of sound is also such that you feel truly alone at times. The game is largely silent, without music, and sometimes without even ambient sounds. That really makes you feel truly isolated from your fellow humies. Sound work is also well done when it comes to breathing. As it comes closer to the time when you need to change gas mask filters, your character will begin to breathe harder and harder, making the tense atmosphere even more so. As for the story, well, it's a game based upon a book, so I wouldn't really expect Mario-level story complexity. The game itself takes place reasonably enough in the Moscow Metro in 2033. The world itself has been destroyed by both man's hubris and his own self-destructive nature. How? Why? It doesn't really matter anymore, as there's no one left to really care why the world is gone. And this is no rosy little death of civilization with cozy little towns like Megaton. The world is fucking gone, and the game drives this into your head all the bloody time. Humanity can no longer live upon the surface of the earth, as it is now a frozen hellscape with irradiated pools of water here and there, and dangerous beasts about. The Moscow Metro is humanity's world now, and it is little better. There are irradiated pools of water here and there, crumbling architecture, and monsters both human and otherwise aplenty. It is a harsh world where survival is the most anyone can do. Into this world comes the player character, Artyom. Your home is under assault because creatures known as the Dark Ones are moving into your territory, and you must travel to get help. Along the way, you meet a wide variety of interesting characters, and of course get into a great deal of combat. The game also handles objectives in a fairly interesting manner. You don't actually get an objectives menu. Rather, Artyom must literally have a clipboard with them written down, and you, the player, must toggle said clipboard to actually see what objectives you have. This, of course, once again, draws you into the world. However, there is a nice break from reality. There is a compass on the clipboard that points to your next objective. I'm all for immersion, but not wandering around the same area for 2 bloody hours. The game also features one thing that's been cropping up in FPSs ever since the first Fear game: the Freak Out! The Freak Out is where the player character freaks out and begins hallucinating, or otherwise being attacked mentally, and this happens all throughout the game as Artyom sees things that are not physically there, and really these Freak Outs serve to make the game that much more stunning when it comes to atmosphere. Come upon a playground, and Artyom tries to imagine kids playing. The story also has considerable creepiness, but the game also works in the concept of ghosts. For me, I find ghosts utterly frightening. Oh sure, science says they don't exist, but modern recording techniques show otherwise. Whether or not they exist, I couldn't really say, but by Ysmir's hammer, I hope they don't. Why, you may ask? Well, think about this. You can generally fight humans fairly well, but ghosts are, 1, already dead, and 2, don't actually have a bloody body. So how the hell are you gonna fight that? And that's the question you will ask yourself in the game. There are ghosts in the Metro. No one knows why they are there, just that they are. And if you touch one, you are instantly killed. Thus serving to show that while Artyom can fight mutants and humans with the best of them, there are some things that even he cannot fight. Metro 2033 is a modern-day classic, and it really shows that video games are maturing into their very own art form. And I cannot recommend it enough. And so, this is General Lotz wishing you good Metro Last Light, and good, after all, insanity, or whatever makes you happy.